the North Star process. Now, this has been a breakthrough for us. Over the last 12 years, we've tested everything, and we did it scientifically. When we added the North Star process, the results that took 12 months to achieve would be achieved in half the time, some and even a third of the time. And really what it is, it comes down to this. The North Star process is a handful of questions happy, successful, fit people, fulfilled people ask themselves again and again and again, whether it's in business, in their relationships, or any aspect of life, including their physical health. And so the concept begins like this, and this is something you already know, so this serves as a reminder. This is referred to as the law of mentalism. This was written thousands of years ago in manuscripts and has been repeated ever since because we all know it to be true at our core. And it goes like this. Everything that has ever been created or achieved first began in the theater of the mind. It began as a thought, as an idea. And as we started to question it and visualize it and imagine it, it became bigger, brighter, more vibrant, and it evoked emotions. And those emotions caused us to take certain actions, to notice patterns and connect the dots, and to know when it was time to act and when it was a time to avoid. But it created this inner guidance. So whenever you want to transform your body, it's not about the strategy. The strategy is important, and I'll give that to you. You'll have an effective, sustainable plan. Just trust the process, and I guarantee it will work. But the thing that throws it off is the mind. The mind will start to question, is this really working? Is this enough? Do I need to do more? And on and on and on. I got to tell you, I've been doing this a long time. But I also understand you're a human. So I really want to emphasize the importance of the North Star process. It's not something you do once. It's something you do again and again and again until it becomes part of you. So most people fail because they lack a clear and compelling vision of what they want. They don't have a clear destination. So the questions in the North Star process are designed to help you clarify that destination. And over the last 3 decades, I have noticed that every successful client has done this and kept it in front of their minds every day. Now, some may call that obsessed. I call it highly effective. And I probably, if I were to guess, you've done this in some area of your life before. Now, the North Star process, before there was GPS, before there were even maps, there was Polaris, the North Star. So if you were lost at sea or in the forest, you were away from home, you could look up in the sky, even in the darkness, and find your way back. So you knew with confidence what direction to go. And that's what the North Star really is at its core. It gives you certainty that what you're doing is going to take you to the promised land, so to speak. What is the promised land? I don't know. That's up for you to decide. But we're going to get clear on it. I'm going to walk you through the questions real quick. And again, this isn't something you do once. This is something you do again and again and again. After we go through the questions, I will tell you how to use this. It's simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. And it's fun to do, actually. But make sure you don't make this perfect. One of the patterns we've noticed in high achievers, and I used to be the worst at it, is I try to do everything 100%, which is perfectionism. And if I didn't give everything I had, then I felt like I failed. I didn't give enough. And so I would do more. And sometimes I would train twice a day. Sometimes I would eat even more strictly. And then I really lost sense of why I was doing this. Because the real reason we're doing all this is not to change our body. It's to feel good. That's why people exercise. Because they believe if they weigh a certain amount, if their waist looks like this, their butt looks like this, their arms look like that, and all these other things that we make up in our minds, if all these things happen, now we're worthy of success. Now we are worthy of love. Now we're worthy of life's rewards. That's the deeper psychology at play here. And Tony talks about this at UPW, and this is from William James at the turn of the century, the father of modern psychology. He said that everyone has these beliefs, these limiting beliefs, that they're not enough, and if they're not enough, they won't be loved. And that goes back to when we lived in tribes and the world was a much harsher, more dangerous place. You had to live in a tribe in order to survive, to have food, shelter, and to be able to work together. and to unite, so to have those resources, to have people to take care of you when you are sick. Because if you're alone and you get sick or you break your leg, you're not going to make it. And so that's built into our DNA. It's burnt into us. And so that's a primal fear. And so we need to overcome that. And the North Star process is part of it. And we'll get into that. But just keep this in mind. The North Star process is what separates those that fail from those that achieve. Those that stick to it from those who quit. A lot of people will rationalize and say, oh, I got busy or it's not working for me. No, you quit. Let's just be honest about this. You either quit or you succeed. That's the only two options. So do not take this lightly. This is important. This program, when you do it, will add years to your life. And not only that, it will add quality years to your life to your years. And the North Star process and the other habit of training, ideally within the first 3 or 4 hours of waking up, what I call summoning the lion or the lioness, is when we unite the North Star process with the physical act of training. Understand that training is not the same as exercise. Exercise is usually random, it's not strategic, and it doesn't usually produce results. You get healthier, but people really don't change. I owned gyms for a long time. I've been in gyms since I was a kid, and most people are unsuccessful there. Most people look the same, or actually worse, a year later. In fact, when I first moved to Florida, I became an owner of a gym, and I ran the whole place. And I took a video the first day I was there, and then 5 years later, when I left to start another business, I took a video at the same time. It was a Monday at 9 a.m., and it was packed. It was largely the same people, and they looked the same, or they looked worse, honestly, because they made it all about the body. And they didn't have the North Star process. Whenever you do this for a higher purpose, which you're going to discover during the process, you're going to find that you will never miss a training session. But you must emphasize this. The North Star process will largely determine whether you suffer the agony of defeat and the bitter taste of regret, or experience the thrill and joy of victory in a life well lived. So let us begin. The first question is about a compelling vision of your future self. Now, you can do this 3 years from now, 7 years from now, whatever. I like to start on my 100th birthday. Let's say you wake up and it's your 100th birthday. How do you wake up? What is life like for you? Are you full of energy? What's your posture like? Is it easy to move? Do you move like a panther, or are you like a turtle? How does your body feel and function? What limitations do you have, or do you have none? What's your outlook and attitude towards life like? Are you full of gratitude and joy? Do you have radiant health? What's your energy like? What's possible? Describe your life as if it's here and now. Take a time just to write a couple notes down here. You don't have to write down the whole thing, but what words pop out to you? It's your 100th birthday. You stand up with ease and gratitude in your heart. In a beautiful home, maybe. Where is that home? Is it on the island, in a mountain, in a city? Describe it. Use your senses to get a clear and vivid picture. The key here is to feel it. Evoke the emotion. Because if it excites you, then it will ignite you. All right, take a deep breath, and let's go to the next question. Now, this is the next milestone. It's having a compelling vision of your future 3 to 6 months from now. And this is a process goal. This is the goal for the next 3 months or 6 months, whichever you prefer, whatever feels right to you. But this is where it's best to choose a goal that will get you to your outcome. So there are outcome goals and there are process goals. An outcome goal is I'm going to lose 20 pounds of fat and gain 5 pounds of muscle. That's an outcome goal. But that's pretty far away. That takes time, right? So it's easy to get distracted from that. Instead, we want to win the day. We want to focus on the here and now. What do I need to do today to achieve that. One of the things is your North Star process, right? And the other thing for sure is to follow the training programs I give you, because there's a science to this. And the training programs will create the stimulus for your body to improve. Without that, there's no change. You can eat an incredible diet, but if there's no exercise, no training, no stimulus, nothing changes. So I would suggest having a goal, a milestone of completing 6 training sessions per week for the 12 weeks. That's 72 training sessions. Then set a goal of the absolute no matter what. So let's say 5 sessions a week, because let's say something crazy happens. We never know what's going to happen in life. So you want to have a goal which is the minimum goal no matter what, and then the optimal goal. So a perfect score is 72. So let's make that the optimal goal. And then 60 is still enough to make incredible progress. But it's also, we want to set you up to win. So let's say everything went exactly as you wanted. How many training sessions did you complete? And what was it like to you? Did you enjoy the training sessions? Do you feel strong when you train? Do you look forward to when you train? What's different? What's better now than you accomplished in the past? Maybe you suffered through training sessions, or you felt like you didn't have enough time. Describe the process goal and what it feels like when you train and when you follow through. Just take those notes. Take a big deep breath, chest high. Give a little roar. The next one is your higher purpose. Now, most people don't really think about this. And most people's purpose is to change their body because they don't like themselves. They don't like where they're at. And so the problem with this is if you're training, you're doing all this, you're eating a certain way, you're doing all this because you don't like your body, and then you get in great shape. What we find is that you like your body even less. It's never enough because we've created a deep-rooted belief that I'm not enough unless I weigh this much. I'm not enough if I look like this. I'm not enough unless I check these boxes, which is all horseshit. None of that is true. If you have breath in your body, if you have blood in your veins, then you are worthy of life's rewards. Now it's just about what do you want to create? So ask yourself for your higher purpose. Why is this adventure important to you? Because that's what this is. It's an adventure, and you're here to accept the call to adventure. Are you here to dabble, or are you a devoted and humble student of self-mastery? Self-mastery, what is that? It's the awareness, management, and command of the only 3 things we have control of in life. And it's all you need. Your thoughts, your emotions, and actions. Everything is created by those 3 things, no matter what. Think about it, contemplate it, reflect upon it, and you will find it to be true. Why is this adventure important to you? And how will it not only impact you, but every other aspect of your life, and even those you love, the people that surround you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, maybe your team, your employees. How will that reflect upon them? How will it inspire them? Because people aren't inspired by us talking to them. They're inspired by how we live, the example we set. So if you have kids and you want them to become healthy, live it yourself. My dad never told me to train. My dad never told me to eat a certain way. I did it because he did it. He inspired me and I wanted to be like him. Now list as many reasons as possible for why you want to do this. Because your why will determine what you do when life gets tough, when the shit hits the fan. You need this higher purpose in order to follow through when it's not easy. Now, I will give you a hint here. We've worked with a lot of people, and when someone's successful, their higher purpose has a theme. And the theme goes something like this. The wording's different sometimes, but this is the root of it. This is the foundation. They train and eat well and focus on their sleep and recovery and all these habits that you're going to learn so they can be, feel, and give their best to themselves and to others, those they love, serve, and appreciate, so they can create more value in the world. So to be, feel, and give their best to the world. Find the words that resonate with you. And this is going to evolve. So just write down some notes real quick. We're almost there. Put a little smile on your face and say yes. That's it. Now the next question I add to get an understanding, because I'll see all these, by the way, when you fill out the form. When you hear the phrase, you were born a lion, not a lamb, what does that mean to you? When you are in lion mode, what is that like? When you are acting like a lamb, what does that mean to you? Now, this is a phrase a metaphor that I created when I was running 50 miles around a track in the middle of the night for a charity event. And it's for the American Cancer Society. And the training for it, I only trained 9 weeks, and I could not run that far before that. I won't go into all the details, but I got injured because my coach did not understand recovery. And he was like a mutant. He could run forever. And I was running 5 to 7 hours a day for 9 weeks, and I only had 2 days off, and my knee was like hanging by a thread. And I'm running around a track, and I didn't take into account that a track is beveled, so your outside leg takes the brunt of it on the turns. And so there's a point where I couldn't walk. And I remembered 2 things. I had this vision. One night I was running, and it was like, I trained, like I would stand there and train people back in the day, and I had all these trainers that worked for me at my center. And so my first client was at 6 a.m., so I'm waking up at 4:30 in the morning, and then I would train till like 6 p.m. at night, and then I would come home, and I lived at the beach, and I would run along the beach and do these trails into this park and just keep running back and forth. And I would run for 5 hours. So it's like midnight, and I know I got to wake up at 4:30, and I am suffering. And I started thinking about this lamb I had. So my mom was just a heart-driven person. She just loved animals. She loved animals. She would help anyone. She'd give her last penny. She's just a beautiful soul. And at one point, we ended up with this lamb that was like an orphan or something. I don't even know how we got it, but I just came home, and my job was to take care of all these animals. So every animal, though, I loved it because you would feed them and take care of these animals no matter what it was, and they loved you. And they were excited to see you, except lambs. Because lambs, one, they're designed to live in a flock. They're not designed to be solo. And the other thing is they're fear-driven creatures. They don't have claws. They're not very fast. They don't really have a way of protecting themselves, so they have to be hyper cautious. They're in this fear mode all the time. And so I couldn't feed it. And so we called him Houdini. That was his name. And but he was not magical. He was scared to death of everything. And this is like weeks ago now. I'm afraid he's going to die because he's not eating. So I had to feed him a bottle. So I would tie him to a post, and then I would chase him in a circle until the rope got really short. Then he would like freak out. I felt so bad, and I would hold him, and I would force feed him the bottle. And that's what it was. But I just remember like how scared this creature was. And eventually we got him back into a flock on a farm, and I don't know what happened, but I'm sure it was great. And because he wasn't alone, he wasn't in fear. But the core story there is lambs are innocent, but they're fear-driven. And that's not in our nature. Humans are not designed to be in fear. We're designed to go into survival when there's actual danger for a short period of time and then come right back to our core, to our center. And when we're in fear, our body actually breaks down faster than it can rebuild itself. Now, the lion is different. I remember seeing this video. So I'm running like in the sand, back and forth, and I'm thinking of this lamb, and I'm like, I'm not a lamb. I'm not Houdini. And I remember this. This is like, 16 years ago. And then that day, someone sent me a video of a lion. It was like in Africa, and this is always a thing that upsets me, but it's my personal thing. But one of the way, like there was like a safari. There's all these guys that never shot a gun in their life. Like I grew up with guns and on a farm and hunting and stuff. So I have a respect and a reverence for nature and so forth. But when someone does like a safari, usually it's just some ego-driven maniacs that want to stuff an animal and hang it in their room or whatever. So I have a bias towards that, so I don't like it. And so anyway, I saw this video, and there's these guys shoot the lion that's been shot, and it's probably like 100 meters out, and it's gonna die, right? Now, it could just run away and then go somewhere and lay down and that could be it. But lions don't do that. There's many videos demonstrating this. So a lion, when you find out who you are, when life is difficult, in high stress environments, life and death, you find out. Who are you on your deepest level? And so a lion, this lion in this video, there's like 4 or 5 guys lined up shooting, and they're missing. I can obviously tell they don't know what they're doing, but there's the guide. He does. He knows how to handle the rifle, I can tell. And all of a sudden, the lion charges them. Now, this thing's already been shot. It's going, it's kicking up dust. It is getting close. They're shooting, missing, and it leaps. And it comes within inches of one of the safari people, and they shoot it again, and it tumbles and then runs back to mount another charge. And I just remember, like, man, I couldn't imagine being in that situation and having the courage to do that. Like, that is so badass, and I have such a respect for anyone that's going through a really tough time and chooses courage over fear. And that's what the lion represents. That's your soul, your spirit. It's your highest and best self. It's your ultimate potential. So when I say you were born a lion, I'm talking about the part of you that's timeless, that's infinite, that's eternal. So the lion represents your highest and best self. And that is why we train. We train to call forth your highest and best self, because this is what happens. This is Hebb's rule in neuroscience. What fires together wires together. So if you're training and the whole time you're focused on everything else you got to do today, and you're like, oh, how many more? Like, oh, this sucks. Or you're pinching your fat and you're like, oh, it's not working. Oh, this is so gross. I hate my body. That's getting wired up with the very act of something that will add years to your life and life to your years. The very thing that will give you radiant health and energy. And eventually, you're not going to do it because you're programming your subconscious mind at the same time. But instead, if you're training and you have this North Star process, you're writing the chapter in advance. You're writing the movie script of your life right now. That's what we're doing. And so if you create this beautiful story that inspires you, that moves you, that evolves and grows with you, and you step into and embody it every time you train. It's almost like Superman going into the telephone booth and changing his ripping off his shirt, like, ah, or Wonder Woman, right? Like this alter ego you're feeding. But that alter ego is who you really are. It's your true self. It's the real you. It's been covered up with masks and layers of fear and all these personalities we've created throughout our lives to protect ourselves. So we're going to start stripping them away as we train. And then what happens is, after about 3 or 4 months of training 6 times a week in this way, where we're creating this, where what fires together wires together, you're embodying your North Star, you know how you need to show up, and you're doing that, doing something difficult, challenging your body, it gets linked up, and you start to wake up that way. And life kind of feels easy, and it gets weird at first because you're like, I feel like I should be doing more. I feel like life should be harder. And be careful, because I went through a phase of that, and life got harder because I started making it harder unintentionally. But then I realized life wasn't meant to be a struggle. We make it a struggle because often as achievers, we have a belief that we need to suffer. We need to earn our way. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be difficult. It's our emotional states that make things feel difficult. But when you do it from a place of passion, of joy, from love, from determination, from presence, what's difficult feels easy. It almost feels effortless. And that's what you may call flow, or in the zone, as athletes often call it. So right now, just write down, what's the lion to you, and what's the lamb? What does it mean? Take a couple notes right now. Don't be perfect with it. There's no such thing. You're chasing a ghost if you're chasing perfection. I'll take a deep breath. We have one more question, and this will conclude your first draft of your North Star. Now, the only way to create lasting change is by becoming the type of person that would love to create this vision. So, who is the main character in the movie of your life? Describe that main character. And this is how you do it. Ask yourself, who are you at your very best when you feel unstoppable? Describe the dominant emotional states of this person. Be sure to make note of what this person does when things don't go their way? How would you respond as your highest and best self? What would you have to believe in order to create this vision and purpose that you just wrote down? Or said another way, look at your vision, look at your higher purpose, everything that you created so far. Take a deep breath. Then ask yourself this: who is the man or woman who not only is capable of bringing this vision and purpose to life, but they would love to do it? Describe that person's most dominant emotional states. What do they believe about problems and when things don't go their way? What's most important to them? What drives them? And that, my friend, is your inner lion. Because my purpose here is to remind you of who you really are, who you always have been. So there's nothing you need to change. There's nothing you need to fix. Nothing is broken. It's all there. We are simply revealing it again and again and again until all the masks are removed, all the armor is removed, and you are there standing whole, standing in your power and your strength and your almost invincibility. But really what I mean is it's your soul, your spirit, your highest and best self. That part of you is flawless and it's infinite and it always has energy because its fuel is love. And the purpose of the lion is to run on the energy that never fades. When you're in states of love-based emotion, you cannot tire, you cannot fatigue. No one in the history of the world has ever been in a state of passion, of joy, of harmony, of peace, of gratitude, and said, I'm exhausted, I need a break. No one's ever done that because you make more energy. Your body literally generates more energy than it uses when you're in states of love-based emotion. Fear is not actually a thing. It's a lack of a thing. It's a lack of love. And so there's a point where the energy is low. And when the energy gets to a certain threshold that we call fear, right? It's around anger, right below anger. When we get in sadness and depression, then we go into guilt, apathy, shame. These are very low energy states, and the body uses far more energy than it creates. And so it creates this debt, and we feel exhausted and tired. This is the lamb, you have to think of it this way, is the inner critic. It's the judge. It's the part of you that it's never enough. And so it's creating these fear-based states, and it's exhausting, it's draining you. The lion, the lioness, is an energy generator. It is a battery. It is an engine, an infinite engine. So this is the core concept. This is what drives the system. And what is going to make you successful are these two habits, these two recurring actions, daily rituals of summoning the lion, training, while embodying the North Star process, your North Star. Now, we always want to do it when we train. That's number one. But let me tell you how I first started doing it and how I do it with my athletes. And I'm blessed to be able to be in the corner of some of the greatest athletes that ever lived. And I still am today. They just reach out to me, and it's so cool because I learn so much at the same time. So what I do is I type out my North Star, and it's printed out on top of my phone. My phone's my alarm. Now I create an anchor. When my alarm goes off, there's a song. There's a song from the Beatles. That's the one. You can pick any song, but there's a song that goes love, 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 if you ever heard it. And that way I'm programming the lion. So as I wake up, and when you wake up, you're in what's called a theta brainwave state. It's like a trance. We're kind of out of it, right? It's hypnosis. And we have access to the subconscious mind because that's what drives behavior. About 95% of our automated behavior comes from the subconscious mind. And so when I wake up, I just take a few minutes, I'm standing up while I'm doing it, and I'm just reading through it. with a state, and I have a state of joy, and I always wake up and I program myself to say thank you 3 times when I first wake up, just for standing up and my feet hitting the ground, because I have a friend with no arms and legs, and he's incredible. But I always think what a blessing it is to have an able body and then an able mind. And so that's the first step. That's just a few minutes of embodying, stepping into that North Star. And you'll find, this is very interesting, whatever we place our attention upon in the morning when we're in this state stays in the front of our mind most of the day. The second time is what we talked about, summon the lion, the lioness. You're training, but you're stepping into that alter ego. You're summoning that part of you. And so what I like to do, and I did this by accident one day, is I was in an awesome state, so I said, I'm gonna read my North Star and record it. So I just went my voice memos and I read it, but my energy was on point too. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just says, don't try to be perfect with it. But I read it, and then now I listen to it when I start training every time. I got it memorized at this point, but I'm always upgrading it too. So like probably every few weeks or every month, I do a new version of it just because it's fun. And so now that gets linked up. The other time is before you go to sleep. So a lot of my athletes were working with a sports psychologist, and I never heard of him. He's kind of like a secret weapon of the best athletes. And what he taught me was whatever you focus on the 15 minutes before you fall asleep will be repeated in the subconscious mind 17 times in an 8-hour sleep cycle. And so what he did with the athletes is he'd make a highlight video of all their best achievements. Some were when they were little kids. It was really cool. And they would have like a song that was an anchor that they would listen to before a fight or before a game or a match or whatever. And they would watch this and listen to it as they dozed off and fell into sleep. So they were programming their mind. So I'll teach you a process later on, but for right now, you just want to imagine it. Take some deep breaths. Count your blessings for the day. Review your day. What went great? What did you learn? And then what are you going to create tomorrow? Where are you heading? And then step into that and just doze off into that place. And when you do these things, this is going to eventually put everything on autopilot for you. It takes time though, I ain't going to lie. And I want you to understand how important this is. People that don't do this with the North Star tend to fail. Or they get stuck in that place where they're just judging their body again and again and again. And it's like it's like that phrase, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And when you have that mindset, it's exhausting. So we tend to go all in and all out. And it's just a struggle the whole time because we don't have the right mindset. Before the body changes, we must first change the mind. And nothing changes permanently until we change the software of the mind, which are our beliefs. And if you take all your beliefs and stick them together, you have your identity and your worldview. And ultimately, that's what needs to change. And this, what I just shared, is exactly how you do it. It works every time when you do it. And you are the type of person that will do it because you were born a lion, not a lamb. Let's do this. You tap into the real you, but you have to retrain yourself. The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live like a lion, not the fear of a lamb.